Hey everyone, it's Phil from smilinggardener.com. I grew up working for my parents in their garden center. When I was a teenager and all through university, I was doing a lot of landscaping and gardening for them. I never thought I would do it past then because it just didn't seem like the thing for me. But then I moved to the West Coast and I stumbled across this course in organic gardening, which was a new concept to me. And I thought, I'll just take this course, and I did, and it blew me away how different the organic approach was to the conventional approach. And still 12, 13 years later, it still has me really excited just how this paradigm is of organic gardening. So last weekend, I asked you what have been your biggest challenges in your garden in the last 12 months. And you shared a lot of different things here. So I think the biggest challenge I came across was insect problems in your garden. People had aphids and vine borers and squash bugs and stink bugs and cutworms and cabbage moths, and I think I counted about 15 different insects that were causing you some troubles. And so I thought today I just wanted to talk a little bit about that in terms of the organic approach and how we deal with things organically, because it's so exciting. I think it's so cool when I get the occasional insect pest in my garden, because it's so exciting how this all works. So let's say you have something in your garden. So the first way to deal with it that works quite well often, especially if you have a garden that's manageable by hand, regardless of whether you're conventional or organic, is you go and you pick them off with your hands. So you go in the morning is usually the best time, sometimes the evening. You put them into a bucket of soapy water and then you control them. You do this every day, it takes not that long, and it works really well. Also, if you look on the underside of the leaves where sometimes the insects are hanging out and often their eggs are hanging out, you can squish those eggs or throw them into the water, and that works really well. So that's nice, that's step one. Now step two would be maybe some kind of insecticide to get rid of them. Now since we're organic, we want to use something organic, and often it's nice to start with something you make yourself rather than going and buying something. So my favorite is to use garlic. You take a clove of garlic, fresh is nice, just one clove, blend it up with a quart of water, and there you have a basic insecticide. If you want to make it better, you add a teaspoon of liquid dish soap, something non-toxic that you probably already have, or a teaspoon of olive oil, or both, and maybe even a teaspoon of chili powder or pepper flakes, or even you could take a small hot pepper and blend that up. Something hot, because that seems to be something that a lot of insects don't like. So you can take this and strain out the garlic and the pepper and spray it. Now even better is if you let it sit for 24 hours and let it marinate, and then you go and you spray it right on the insects, and they're not going to like it. So that's the next step. That's cool. I like this. It's good short-term control, but if we're starting to think a little longer term, we might move to row covers, like a floating row cover. So that is a big sheet of plastic you buy that lets sunlight and water and air through, but doesn't let insects through. If you happen to have something that overwinters in the soil, like a vine borer, then you need to really make sure you put your squash plants, in this example, somewhere else before you lay this on top, because otherwise the row cover is just keeping those insects happy in there. So actually, anytime I'm using a row cover, I'm probably wanting to rotate anyway, just in case there's something left over from last year. So, which is usually a good idea anyway. So put your crop somewhere else, then you put this row cover on top. At least during the beginning of the year, it can protect your plants. When the plants start flowering, you need to do something to get them pollinated, which usually means taking the row cover off or hand pollinating. But anyway, for the beginning of the year, it's a beautiful thing. So that's the next step. But let's keep going. What if we could do something even better? What if instead of spraying the garlic, we planted the garlic all throughout the garden, because garlic attracts many beneficial insects. And what if we didn't stop at garlic, but also many different herbs? Dill and thyme and mint. I don't even have to name them, because just plant every herb you can into, whether you say herb or herb, it depends on where you live in the world, into your garden. You're going to be attracting beneficial insects that will take care of your aphids and your stink bugs. Things like parasitic wasps that will lay their eggs right inside, say, a worm, like a hornworm or something, and then those eggs will hatch and they will eat the worm or the larvae from the inside out. It's really gross and it's really cool. You can see it. And to have those parasitic wasps, you need to plant the herbs to attract them. You can also buy parasitic wasps, which sometimes can be helpful, but still you want to plant the herbs so that those wasps want to stick around longer term. So that's really cool. We're starting to get more organic thinking there. The last step I learned about, which still blows me away 13 years later, when I took this organic gardening course, is about health in the garden. And that is if you have plants that are optimally healthy, because the soil is right for them and the water is right for them and everything is right, first of all, they can make their own insecticides and fungicides and they can take care of themselves pretty well. But beyond that, and much cooler than that, they won't get attacked in the first place. Because insects have evolved to consume the plants that are not optimally healthy. They go for the plants that have some kind of imbalance, and that's how nature really works. Those insects are there to remove the poor plants, and so the healthy plants can keep reproducing. So if you, for example, put on a lot of nitrogen in the spring, plants usually can't use all that nitrogen, so it ends up floating around inside of them, and that's what attracts the aphids because they want that nitrogen. Same thing in a lawn. If you put a lot of nitrogen in the spring, it makes the lawn really green up and grow fast, but then in the summer, the weeds come because of that nitrogen. So, first of all, don't use too much nitrogen in your garden. Use something more slow release or even compost, grass clippings, something that doesn't give that big shot of nitrogen. But also, just if we can think about how to grow a healthy garden, and that sometimes means testing our soil, figuring out which nutrients our soil needs, and then bringing in biology too, like really good compost, really good inoculants, like probiotics almost, that bring the beneficial biology into our gardens, right onto our plants, onto our soil. Then we're starting to create an ecosystem where the plants can be optimally healthy and they're not going to get attacked. And this is what happens over the years as you improve your garden. So in my garden now, I just don't have hardly any pest problems because my garden is at such a level of health. It's really exciting. The occasional time I do get some sort of pest coming in, I love it because to me it's just nature at work and it gives me clues as to what I need to do. So this is super exciting to me. This is one of the reasons I still love gardening so much, is this scientific approach that organic gardening really is. So it starts with maybe a little bit of substitution of instead of using conventional pesticides, we're using something organic, but it goes beyond that to creating health, and that's so exciting. So last weekend I asked you what your biggest challenge was in the garden, and I got a lot more responses than I thought I would this time of year. So I haven't had a chance yet to answer that. So I'll be starting answering those questions this weekend and into next week. So stay tuned for that if you asked a question. And if you haven't asked a question yet or told me what your challenge was, I'll put a link down below where you can do that, and then I'll answer that within the next week or so. This is also the week tomorrow. I'm going to be opening up my online organic gardening course for enrollment. And usually during the enrollment week, I share a few videos with you, sharing some interesting tips, just hopefully providing you some value. And I haven't done a lot of that yet this week because you asked me so many comments. I got so excited that I want to create something a little more than just a couple of videos. So here's what I'll be doing is over the next few weeks, I'll be creating a few articles and videos for you, going into more detail about how to deal with these challenges in your garden of insects and diseases and weeds and your garden not producing very well. That's something that a lot of people alluded to in the comments. So probably a few lessons coming up in the next few weeks about that. If you want to go even deeper this year to really take your garden to the next level or start a new garden, that's when you get into the academy, and I have over 500 lessons in there. Not all at once, but over the course of a year. I don't want to overwhelm you, but over the course of the next year, you'll get a number of lessons and you'll have a lot of one-on-one support from me to grow this really healthy garden that I'm talking about here that's so exciting. So I'll be opening up that course for enrollment tomorrow, just for a few days. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. Otherwise, stay tuned over the next few weeks for a few lessons that will help you with these challenges that you might be facing in your garden. And that's all for today. I'll send you another email tomorrow. Have a good day.